Blink Twice is a new psychological horror movie directed by Zoe Kravitz. It's more of a thriller mystery than it is horror, but it really does have those horror elements. I think Zoe Kravitz was really great in her directorial debut. This movie stars her husband, Channing Tatum, as well as Kyle MacLachlan, Naomi Ackie, Christian Slater is in this movie, Gina Davis is in this movie. It has a very great cast. Also, it's just a well-made movie. I really did think that there are some horror movies or movies in the genre out there that are good looking but kind of lacking in content, and I think Blink Twice is really just entertaining, and it really does what a good movie does. I think at the end of the day it comes down to 50%, for at least for me. If we're going on a scale of 100%, 50% of a movie should be entertainment, or 60. It's a huge part, and Blink Twice is very entertaining, and on top of that it's just technically very good. It has good casting choices, it has great sound, so I really did enjoy this film. For me, this movie is kind of like Get Out for women, and I know that is kind of just like a blanket statement, but I do think that it deals with topics Get Out handled, but it does it in its own way. It has its own location, its own visual just like design, its own geography, and I really liked it. I really liked how it took this take on contemporary celebrity and just tried to turn that into what really is just Get Out for girls. There's been stuff like this before, like that on Black Mirror episode, the USS Callister, which was the one with Jesse Plemons that was kind of Star Trek themed. That one also had a similar theme about men trying to like take advantage or take control of women, and I really do think that it's a very unique genre of horror, or it's ever since Get Out there's been a lot of movies kind of like that, and I think Blink Twice is really good. So let's get into it and talk about what Blink Twice is about. It follows Channing Tatum Slater King, who invites Frida, who's a waitress played by Naomi Ackie, to his island to go hang out with his friends. The original title for this movie was Pussy Island. I do really wish they had stuck with Pussy Island. I think that's a great title, but obviously I could understand them not wanting to, the studio at least, not have that in the title, and just also when you consider what the subject matter is, it might just seem a little distasteful, one could say. But really, for Zoe Kravitz's debut film, this is just great. I loved the sound design. I loved the pacing. I love the editing. It has this really great way of not having filler scenes or not having exposition dumps. Characters say, we're going to do this, and they go. They do it. There's no waiting or debating. There are scenes where characters do, like, there's tension and they have to discuss something, but it's always moving ahead. And even when there's tension, the movie isn't unreal. I think a lot of movies have tension in them and then they just kind of like drag that out, or they play the music really loud. This movie then diffuses it with comedy. There's a lot of dark comedy here, which is really good because the movie does have such dark subject matter, but then you just have moments where one moment these people are in danger and the next they're pretending to like have the time of their lives just to like save their lives. And it does such a good job, in my opinion, of showing that type of situation, how people could be in a horrible situation. They might be on this beautiful island which seems like a paradise, but really it's this hell, and they're trying to survive or trying to deal with it in this way. I think there hasn't been a movie really made like this, at least in a while, and it's just really great. I think another thing that I really liked with it was how it takes its time to kind of reveal what's going on at the island. You find out that the men at this island are using the women there. They're taking advantage of them. There are these drugs they inject them with so they don't, or they give them this perfume so they can't really remember. And it's a good concept, and then it goes on to suggest that the men are taking this perfume home with them and they're using it in their lives outside of the island. I think it's just a great depiction of power, and then like taking advantage of that power. It's really just, at the end of the day, entertaining and a really like well-made film that had great sound design, great visuals. It was really entertaining. I think Blink Twice was one of my surprises of the year. Makes sense, it didn't make a lot of money. It's not like your typical horror movie that people are going to be drawn to see. It was pretty vague about what it's about, understandably so, because it's such a dark this subject matter is just very dark. But I really did like this film. I suggest you guys all see it, check it out. It, at least if it isn't like your type of story, the way it was made was great. Zoe Kravitz, I cannot wait to see what you do next. A big thing with Blink Twice is it was really good, but I think that this type of movie isn't really one that made money. It didn't. It went right to digital, actually. And I think a lot of factors that go into that are that it's really just not marketed as a horror movie. I think, you did have the trailers. I really wasn't paying attention to them because I didn't want to have it spoiled for me. But I feel like people are just used to seeing these types of horror movies where there isn't really a lot of horror, but there's a lot of implied, like just not seeing anything directly tied to franchises either. It's a big thing, and it's honestly kind of sad that like a lot of movies that aren't tied to franchises don't make money. But also it just doesn't really look scary. Like there are those independent movies out there like Talk to Me or Hereditary, which made a lot of money and were very successful. But I feel like this just wasn't giving that kind of energy that, this is something really, interesting we have to see. It really is worth your time, but it is a movie that kind of failed at the box office because it really, there isn't a massive audience for this. And also, it wasn't really marketing the revenge part of it. I wish it did, because it really does have a lot of great things to say. It really has some cool imagery and great, just the way it's designed, like the sound and the picture is amazing. So I really do hope it finds an audience even on digital. Blink Twice was by all means an entertaining psychological thriller. It was well shot, edited, acted, directed, written. It just does about everything right. However, it did stumble at the box office and it failed to make a dent. So technically this movie is a failure, a box office failure at least. And I was trying to think about why this movie failed. No one really went to see this, and there are several reasons for this. For starters, it suffers from Get Out syndrome. Get Out was filmed with a relatively modest budget of $5 million, and it managed to make $300 million. But that film was kind of lightning in a bottle. It came out in 2017, really early in 2017. It was a pretty groundbreaking film that blended social themes of race and prejudice into the horror genre. It was Jordan Peele's first film, so there was also a lot of word of mouth with that film and what the movie would be about, and it was very good. It was a horror movie released in the theaters that performed incredibly well and got people talking. It even earned an Oscar for Best Screenplay and nominations for Best Picture and Best Director. I think Blink Twice is very good, and it is very similar to Get Out, but that movie really was such a lightning in the bottle film back in 2017. Streaming was still on the rise, and there were movies being released directly to Netflix and Prime, but there wasn't Disney Plus or Apple or Max or Peacock. The options were more limited than it is today, so when people hear there's a good movie out in the theater, they were going to check it out. It's just a sad matter of fact that people would rather watch something from the comfort of their own homes than go out to a movie theater, especially now in 2020 or after 2020, when movies are making tons of money unless they are related to a franchise or have a major star headlining them. And yeah, I love Channing Tatum. He's Gambit. He's the Step Up guy. He's Jeff. But the film needed more of a draw than just this one famous actor, and the cast is pretty big. At the end of the day, not enough people knew about Blink Twice, and it comes down to identifying genre, because this movie is definitely a psychological thriller. It's really well-crafted one that I honestly felt pretty unsettled by at many parts. And when it came to marketing advertising for this movie, it was pretty vague about what the film was actually going to be about. And when you consider the subject matter is pretty dark and involves assaulting and drugging people on a sex island, you could see how it wouldn't receive such a positive word of mouth just based on the dark subject alone. I love going to the theater too, and I always prefer to see a movie in the theater than at home, but to me, this just feels like it would have done better on Netflix. The taboo subject matter and the instant availability of a film like this would probably make people want to watch it more at home, and they probably feel more comfortable watching this from the comfort of their home than in a theater. But that doesn't mean I don't support the theater-going experience at all. If anything, I prefer that to watching a movie on your tablet. I really think seeing something with a crowd is an experience of itself and can help even improve a bad movie. But Blink Twice is in no means a bad movie. It's honestly one of the most subversive and interesting movies I saw this year, with some of the best sound design and editing. It was just absolutely entertaining. It just came out at the wrong time and in the wrong place. I really do wish it had more of an audience, because it's such an eerie and well-crafted film, and I want people to see it.